I recently had a conversation that inspired this video with one of my neighbors, actually this neighbor behind me over here on the left-hand side. And the question was about watering the lawn. He's using in-ground irrigation, and someone at some point, I don't know if it was the people that cut the grass or maybe it was a friend, it didn't really tell me who, but told them that just to water the lawn for 10 minutes a day, every day, and it should help as the weather starts to heat up a little bit. It'll help the grass with the stress from the heat. So I will say that I certainly disagree with that theory. I'm more of the water heavy and infrequently, and I even looked up my own theory. I looked at the facts behind that, and I looked at the Purdue Extension and their turf science program and what they had to say about watering the lawn. And Purdue recommends for cool season lawns, and really most grass types are going to want at least an inch to an inch and a half of water every week, especially when you see signs of stress, so discoloration in the grass. Maybe you notice that it's starting to go dormant, starting to check out a little bit. Maybe you've got some areas where you have some localized dry spots. You really don't need to start watering until you can visually see those types of things going on the lawn, whether you are have in-ground irrigation like I do, or maybe you're using a manual impact sprinkler like this one. Either way is fine. Use what you've got. Just make sure you're getting the water down. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to test that theory. I'm going to run my sprinklers for 10 minutes. I'm going to run it 10 minutes per zone, and I'm going to use the tuna can method. If you're not familiar with what the tuna can method is, all you really want to do is take 2 empty tuna cans and set them just kind of zigzag pattern out into the lawn, run your sprinklers, and you can tell exactly how much water you're getting down in each one of those zones. It'll actually help you determine if you're getting an even watering in certain zones of your lawn. So I've got one end of my lawn that is wider than the other, so my heads spaced are closer together on one side where it's more narrow than on the side where it's wider. So I actually want to see how much water I'm getting down compared to one side of my lawn in conjunction to the other. So the tuna can method is really popular because the tuna cans are, I think they're an inch, they're maybe a little bit more than an inch in the depth here, so you'll be able to tell how much water you're getting down just by simply taking a tape measure and sticking that down into the tuna can when you measure the water, so you can see how much water you're getting down the tuna can. So enough talking. Let's go ahead and get started. Let's run these zones for 10 minutes. Let's put the tuna cans out on the lawn and see how much water we get down in 10 minutes. As a full disclaimer here too, I should probably mention that I normally wouldn't water in the middle of the afternoon like I am now. Typically when I water, I will do that in the early morning around 4 a.m. A couple reasons for that is you don't get as much distortion from the wind. Usually there's not as much wind at that time in the morning, and then also it's usually not as hot, so you don't have to worry about any evaporation from the heat or from the water getting on the grass blades and evaporating into the air. Another good point to make too is that at 4 o'clock in the morning, there's probably not going to be anyone using a dishwasher or a wash machine or running the shower or anything along those lines. It's going to affect the pressure to your irrigation system. Same can be said if you're using a manual sprinkler, like an impact sprinkler. So those are all factors that are going to throw off how much water is actually getting to the grass. If you're using water in other parts of the house, it's going to take away from the pressure to the sprinkler heads. Now, everybody's sprinkler head pressure or water pressure at their house is going to be different based on a number of variables. Plumbing, where you live, what type of water do you have in the house, city water, well water, whatever the case may be. Everyone's pressure ratings are going to be different. So that's why the tuna can test comes in handy when you want to find out exactly how much water you're getting down at any given time. All right, so here we go. This is after 10 minutes of run time on the 2 zones on my front lawn. So very little water you get down in 10 minutes. When I put the tape measure down into the tuna can, it's about 1/8 of an inch the water in there. So this is definitely not going to cut it. And according to Purdue, the average homeowner system, it takes roughly 30 to 35 minutes to get at least a half inch of water down or more. So let's go ahead and let's bump it up. Let's run another 25 minutes. We'll leave the water in these tuna cans, run the system for another 25 minutes and see what happens. Alright guys, so we just finished up our 25-minute zone on the runtime, in addition to the 10 minutes that we did before. So let's go ahead and measure our tuna can. It looks like we've got about a half inch of water in here, so that's pretty good. So running the zones on the irrigation system here in the front at 25 minutes, we already ran at 10, so a total of 35 minutes per zone. In the middle of the day, it's like in the mid 80s here. I probably got a little bit of evaporation. I probably had a little bit of drift or some distortion from the wind, but got a half inch of water in the tuna cans, which is nice. So that tells me if I want to get a half inch of water down per watering, I need to run my zones for 35 minutes a piece. If I want to step that up a little bit, I could go 45 minutes and maybe do that once a week rather than twice a week, and do really heavy waterings with like where you just soak it and let the lawn dry out and then come back and do it again. So I want to go ahead and try this theory also with the impact sprinkler and do manual watering and see how long it takes for us to get a half inch of water out of a impact sprinkler hooked up with just a hose. So the reason I have the impact sprinkler is because I have an area of my backyard here where the irrigation heads back here don't reach. And so I'll drag the hose down to the bottom of the hill and I'll run the impact sprinkler down here. So the idea is, let's test how much water the impact sprinkler puts down. I'd say we'll check it in about 30 minutes and see what we've got in the tuna cans. I got 2 of them spread out here. Now I need to get one of those fancy hoses like Jimmy Lewis, the hose link. Dragging that thing down here kind of sucks. So I don't know, we'll see. All right, so moment of truth on the impact sprinkler. We just ran for about 30 minutes, and so in both of these cans, you know, we're right at about 1/8 of an inch of water in both of those cans. So moral of the story, you know, it can be done if you're using an impact sprinkler and you're moving it around the yard. If you don't have an in-ground irrigation system, again, that's totally fine. It's just going to take you a lot longer to get that amount of water down. So you're probably looking at maybe 2 hours to run that sprinkler in any certain part of the yard, and then move that to a different part of the yard and run it again. The reason why it's going to take you so much longer is because you're trying to cover so much more ground with just one sprinkler head. The other option is to run a chain of sprinklers connected by hoses in the spikes, and maybe have those impact heads kind of in a line. You could probably get it done a lot faster. So I hope you guys gained something from this video. Definitely a big advocate for watering infrequently and a lot heavier, less often. So I like to do about 40 minutes per zone, probably twice a week in the summer. You can do that in one big soaking. I like to split those up, and I like to do 2 separate waterings just in case I get rain that week. Then I can only water once, and I can rely on the rain to give me my second watering. So with that, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Thanks for sticking around for another video, and we'll see you in the next one.